Penguin Random House Audio presents Can We All Be Feminists? New writing from Brit Bennett, Nicole Dennis-Benn, and 15 others on intersectionality, identity, and the way forward for feminism. Edited by June Eric-Udorie. Read for you by
June Eric-Udorie,
Charlotte Shane,
Nicole Dennis-Benn,
Selena Thompson,
Gabrielle Ballot,
Yvette Dion,
Francis Ryan,
Isha Cole,
Emer O'Toole,
Zoe Samudzi,
Aisha Ghani,
Hannah Curtis,
Adenrele Ojo,
Caitlin Cruz,
Efwa Hirsch,
Waiming Kam,
Maria Karimji,
and Sophia Andre.
June Eric-Udorie, the editor of this collection, is a 20-year-old British writer and feminist activist. Named Elle UK's Female Activist of the Year for 2017, she has been included on lists of influential and inspiring women by the BBC, The Guardian, and more. A co-founder of Youth for Change, an initiative that works to combat female genital mutilation and forced marriage around the world, she recently spearheaded a successful campaign to overturn the British government's decision to remove feminism from the nationally mandated A-level high school politics syllabus. June has spoken at the South Bank Center's Women of the World Festival, the United Nations, and elsewhere, and her writing has appeared in The Guardian, The Independent, New Statesman, The Telegraph, ESPN The Magazine, and Fusion, among others. June is currently an undergraduate at Duke University, where she is a recipient of the University Scholars Merit Scholarship and a Global Human Rights Scholar at the Kenan Institute for Ethics. Here's June Eric-Udorie reading her introduction.
There was once a time when I didn't have the language for the discrimination and gender inequality I witnessed inside and outside my childhood home. As a young girl growing up in Lagos, Nigeria, I'd see stories on the news about men beating up their wives, and the people around me would say things like, "That's what she deserves." I listened as older women gossiped about grown men leering, or worse, at teenage girls, and watched as they shrugged their shoulders, calling it unfortunate. When I asked my mother about these things, she ignored me and changed the subject, or asked if this was the sort of behavior, asking about things that were not my business, I planned to take to my husband's house. Why can't it be my house? Why is it always his house? I would retort, angry, that I couldn't legally own property because I was born a girl. "Mechonu, shut up," she would shout back. "What is wrong with you, You think this is how you will find a husband? Ngwa, get out of here." In my Nigerian home, there was a clear set of norms that governed how a girl should behave. Good girls, my mother taught us, were seen and not heard. Good girls knew they would grow up to be wives and mothers. Good girls would be submissive to their husbands. They would never use their voices. Good girls crossed their legs, wore long skirts, prayed and were active in church, were never loud or boisterous, kept their opinions to themselves, didn't look at boys, and always focused on school. Good girls didn't rebel. For a long time, I tried to be a good girl. I was an exemplary student and active in Sunday school. Even after I moved from Nigeria to a UK boarding school when I was 10, I held on to traditional expectations of girls and women. When I was 14 and my family was visiting our old church in Lagos over the Christmas holiday, the youth pastor asked me to stand up and pointed me out as a role model for all the young women in this church. I knew why he'd picked me. I didn't talk to boys. I had many Bible verses memorized. I advocated against abortion. I wore a purity ring, and I was saving myself from my husband. By the middle of the following year, I threw my purity ring in the trash, stopped praying, and come to believe that abortion is a woman's choice. I let go of the homophobic teachings I internalized from the Pentecostal church, and argued with my father that gay people do deserve the right to marry. Where did this change come from? Feminism, namely, Mary Wollstonecraft's A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, which a teacher had given me that year. And after that, Naomi Wolf's The Beauty Myth, which I bought myself. So much went over my head as I read these books at age 15. But the feminism I encountered in them seemed so simple and appealing. It was a struggle to end the oppression women faced. I was not aware then of the myriad ways in which mainstream feminism has historically excluded marginalized women. And it would be even longer before I understood that 21st century feminists were still battling those issues. All I knew was that feminism seemed to be the most useful tool available to me and to other women to fight against the oppression stacked against us. And so I called myself a feminist, at home, in public, with friends, and at church. When we returned to visit family in Lagos the next Christmas, one of the youth leaders cornered me and said, "That feminism thing you're doing, we don't do that here." I smirked at her before answering back, "I'm sorry, but I'm doing this everywhere." At 16, I was full of passion for feminism and desperately wanted to contribute to the discussions online and in the media. In 2014, I created a Twitter account and started interacting with feminists there. At the same time, I began sending editors pitches for stories I wanted to write on feminism, politics, and pop culture. After 7 months of failed pitches, I co-wrote a column in The Guardian with Carleen Furman, founder of the Misunderstood Partnership, on protecting children and young people from sexual abuse. This marked the beginning of my writing about feminist activism, campaigning, and organizing for major UK news outlets. The editors to whom I pitched my stories were almost exclusively white women, and the vast majority of them identified as feminists. Good, I thought, excited at the idea that I would be edited by other feminist women. As these editors worked on my pieces, I, in turn, started reading their journalism and following them on Twitter. At first, I internalized their discriminatory views. But Twitter exposed me to Black feminist scholarship, and as I started reading tweets and articles by Flavia Zozan, Rennie Edo-Lodge, Mickey Kendall, and Jude Wanga, my perspective shifted. It quickly dawned on me that their feminism didn't care about a Black, queer, disabled young woman like me. Their feminism was entirely focused on the experiences of women who were white, wealthy or middle class, heterosexual, and able-bodied. Feeling powerless, I made the choice to ignore their blind spots and carried on accepting writing assignments. But it was horrifying to watch these editors and so many others who prided themselves on being feminists dismiss women of color and laugh at the concerns raised by LGBTQIA+ women. In one case, an editor criticized the idea that people should be able to define their own gender, arguing that men can't just decide that they're women. Many editors complained when marginalized women asked for more inclusion in the feminist discourse, saying that they were asking their white female counterparts to be perfect. One editor went so far as to argue that being trans is a cover-up that male rapists employ to gain access to the spaces frequented by women and non-binary folks. Eventually, my silence made me uncomfortable, and it shifted to rage. Instead of continuing to pitch to these editors, whose views I was scared I was internalizing, like I'd done with my family's and church's views while growing up, I picked up books by Black women, Angela Davis, Audre Lorde, Bell Hooks, and Patricia Hill Collins. Reading Bell Hooks' feminist theory, I came across a definition of feminism that I felt included me, that made me feel understood and seen. She wrote, "Feminism is the struggle to end sexist oppression. Its aim is not to benefit solely any specific group of women, any particular race or class of women. It does not privilege women over men. It has the power to transform in a meaningful way all our lives. Feminism as a movement to end sexist oppression directs our attention to systems of domination and the interrelatedness of sex, race, and class oppression. Therefore, It compels us to centralize the experiences and the social predicaments of women who bear the brunt of sexist oppression as a way to understand the collective.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?